All right, so this has been the big news of the last couple of days, and you actually had him on your podcast last week, Kempy.
Yep.
Daniel Atkinson has agreed to a 3-year deal with the Dragons. That was reported by Dave Riccio, who we'll be having a chat with later on. Atkinson has informed the Sharks officials that the 23-year-old has agreed to a 3-year deal starting from 2026 with the Dragons, where he intends to become the starting 5'8" alongside newly introduced Lachlan Ilias from the South Sydney Rabbitohs and Kyle Flanagan, who did a pretty good job last year, I thought, for the Dragons. The deal was believed to be worth around 1.5 over 3 years. So
That's a steal if it's true.
it's good value, right?
Yeah, $500K a year for a guy like Atkinson and for your spine, because you'd assume that they're trying to build into a top 6, top 4 run with Atkinson as the 6. And if you're paying, if you're in the top 8 and you're paying your 6 $500K, that's pretty cheap. That's pretty cheap.
Yeah, it's good value for money if he, I guess, lives up to the projection that we all expect of him. He had some really good moments this year. He's also come through the Melbourne system.
Yeah, I do wonder though. Surely the Sharkies would have had at least 400. You reckon, to keep him?
Do you reckon it's less about the money for the Sharks and more about the opportunity? Obviously, Braden Trindle was really good last year, and Nicho Hines, he's $1 million man.
Yeah.
There was probably no guarantees, and you look what happened in the finals, right? Where I feel like he played one of them, but then also was 18th man for another. Once they got Nicho and Braden Trindle back, so maybe Atkinson was just looking at it long term and thinking, all right. You know, I've been plying my trade in the juniors now for a little while. Played some 20s, went down to Melbourne, get an opportunity at the Sharks, feeling comfortable. I seen on your podcast where he just talked about where he's sort of starting to understand his game, and now he gets an opportunity to be the guy. And everyone wants that opportunity, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love it for the Dragons. I think it's an absolutely outstanding signing. I mean, I probably would have gone as high as 600, 650 even.
Yeah,
that's how much I rate him. You know, look. Very rarely do the Melbourne Storm pick a bloke out and say, come down and play for us. And he actually,
that's true.
Pretty sure out of school went straight down to Melbourne Storm. And the only reason it didn't work out was because of the COVID 2 years.
Where was he from originally?
Queensland.
Queensland.
And so as I said, the only reason why it didn't work out is because in those 2 years he didn't get to play any footy. And then he went to Sunny Coast, killed it, got the offer from the Sharkies, came in. And I guess what's so good about him long term as well is he actually can play 6. He's played a bit of 7, can play fullback as well. I love it for the Dragons. I think it's super smart. He's 23 years old, so it's not like he's an 18-year-old rookie. He's old enough to have, kind of developed himself. I think the biggest question really won't be more. He'll definitely deliver value for the Dragons. So let's say it's $500K, I would be shocked if he isn't a good $500K player, at least at the Dragons.
Yep.
I guess the biggest question I have is, did the Sharkies make the right decision, by keeping Trindle and Nicho and Kennedy in their spine over Atkinson long term?
Okay, so we've got Nicho Hines, obviously, Braden Trindle, Will Kennedy, Cade Dykes. He's missed a lot of time. I know they've got a huge opinion of Cade Dykes, but he's just been banged up the last couple of years. And young gun fullback Liam Eisen would all be a part of sort of a rotation in case. Best case scenario, Nicho, Braden Trindle don't start the season in the way that they sort of finished last year and started the year before. Does it put a little bit more pressure on them now? Does it? Do they feel that pressure internally? Like, what if it starts slow? Atkinson. What if Atkinson gets introduced at some point next year?
That's what I mean. I think the Sharks are under pressure.
Yes, that's
from the fans. Yep. Yeah, because if you're right, if they start slow or someone gets injured, and Atkinson comes in, and you've got the stats, don't you, Brooksy? 10-3.
10-3 when starting. 2 big game-winning performances against the Knights and the Storm, away from home.
Yep.
And a sneaky good little stat here too that you've got in here, Brooksy. So he had 5 tries, 4 try assists, which is great for basically playing either second fiddle behind Trindle when he was playing there, or controlling it with Cam McInnes as his partner. So you've basically got no help. He also kicked 78% of his goals as well, which is really valuable in the modern game as well. So
it's a great pickup for the Dragons. It really is. And also with a guy like that, you look at worst case scenario and you go, okay, we bought him in for $500K. Let's say it just doesn't work out, or let's say Lockie Ilias and Flanagan kill it this year, absolutely kill it. Then you could go, okay, Atkinson comes down and he's not playing that well. It's not working. There are so many other clubs that would go, listen, Dragons, if you can throw in 200K, we'll pay Atkinson 300K.
Yeah.
So because the contract isn't
An
that big.
asset.
Yeah, exactly. And also he's in a key position. You'll be able to move him on easy. It's the guys that are like wingers on big money or a centre or maybe a front rower that's a bit past his prime. They're the hard ones to really move on, not a 23-year-old half.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a great recruitment for the Dragons, in my opinion.
Like you said there about 24, saying that, if Ilias and Flanagan kill it, I think this signing's actually good for 2024 because you've got these two guys there that you assume will be the 6 and 7. And they've got the room to sign players, but you've done this deal for 2026. So it sort of lights an early fire under those two going, well, 3 doesn't go into 2 here. I need to perform at my best in 25 because they've shown promise in Atkinson and given him a 3-year deal. So you assume that he's going to be one of the two. And this is like a bit of a playoff here with the two guys that they've got. So great for Dragons fans, I think, that there is a bit of depth there now after losing Ben Hunt, that these 3 guys will be there in 2026 and hopefully competing for spots.
Yeah, it's going to be promising. I guess the beauty of it too with the relationship between Shane and Kyle is he's going to be able to have that conversation with Kyle where I think originally Kyle was brought in to play 9.
Well,
right?
yeah, I think might have been a bit of smoke and mirrors, the 9 call, but that was what was communicated to the public.
Okay, so that wasn't before the Amone. Were they aware of the Amone situation, or was it always Kyle was going to beat out what happened with Talatau Amone? Do you think?
I think. Look, I think that they said that he was brought to 9, but I think they, in the back of their mind, they were probably like, again, this is pure speculation, guys. So this is not a fact at all. But I think in the back of their mind, they were thinking, if anything goes wrong, we've got Kyle Flanagan here to cover. And they were right. They were absolutely right because everything went wrong. And
that's going to be
Flanagan
handy
was great.
now. That's going to be handy now with Atkinson and Lockie Ilias, who's coming off a really gruesome leg injury. Fell out of form a little bit at the Rabbitohs. Now he gets a fresh opportunity, and we've got Daniel Atkinson on their way. So it's you've got him for backup either way.
Oh, mate, it's great. And as I said, I thought Flanagan was great last year. I actually thought out of the Dragons' kind of unsung heroes, especially the first 3 quarters of the season, I thought Flanagan was really, really good for the Dragons last year.
Yeah, the consistency in the halves there with those two, with Flanagan and Hunt. And back to the hooker thing, there was remember the Bulldogs the year before when Flanagan was there, when players were dropping back to reserve grade, the Bulldogs directive, I think it was from Cam Serraldo, was that you needed to play 6, 7, 9 in reserve grade. So Flano played a few games at hooker and starred in those reserve grade games because it was like, if you're going to come back to first grade, you won't necessarily be a starting 6 or a 7 or a 9. You're going to have to be 14 and come on, depending on how the game plays out, and play one of those 3 positions. And I think that's done him a world of good in terms of his career and had a good season at the Dragons last year.
Tourists, we've also got some audio here. This is Daniel Atkinson talking about his future on Kempy's podcast, Bloke in a Bar.
Have to ask my manager, to be honest.
Get him on the line now or no?
Sort of just, just getting ready for pre-season.
Yep. It's, it really, I know it sounds like a cliche answer of like, speak to my manager, but that's literally their job.
Yeah,
like
100%.
It's their job to do that.
Yeah, 100%. That's why you get him.
Yep.
It's an exciting time because I've never had a headache like this before.
Yeah.
It's a good headache to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've earned it, you know?
But that's why you got a manager.
Absolutely.
Geez, you could tell he was close to something there too, BK. he knew something. He had something brewing.
The funny thing is when you've been doing this for as long as I have, you go, well, that's your answer.
Yeah.
If you're answering like that, that's your answer. When he answered like that, I was like, I'm pretty confident he's got a big offer from the Dragons because they had already been whispered, connected to him.